Welcome to the Saynetwork podcast. I am Jim Sparks, and I'm here with Jordan Nix.
Hello.
As always.
Yeah, I'm always here.
And Josh Cowing.
Hello, Jim Sparks.
One of the OGs to the Saynetwork podcast. You were in, I think, maybe episode 3 ever. So that was significant for us.
For me as well. I remember it fondly.
I know that many of our listeners remember you from your Media Moment podcast.
No, nobody remembers that.
Josh was an early adopter to the podcasting world.
That's true.
How many episodes did you guys do of the Media Moment podcast?
We did over 100 episodes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The first one was in 2005. You were probably in like kindergarten.
Okay, I'm not that young. I was in kindergarten in like 2001, so I was in like fourth grade.
So you were in
maybe.
fourth grade.
Well, had you have tuned in, you would have been able to hear everything there is to know about doing media in your
In
core.
2005.
In 2005.
You can. I don't think you can hear them anymore. I may have them somewhere, but I'm sure it's aged really well in the subsequent 17 years. But yes, we did, and that was early before, even before Apple was publishing podcasts.
Was it a weekly? Did you guys do it weekly?
We did.
Yeah, it was
We
quite
did
an
it every
achievement.
week, and if we did 100 episodes, that means we did it for 2 years.
Yeah. It was-
Which we
Wow.
did. Yeah. We would record them on airplanes. We did them all over the place.
Who was on this?
It was me and Richard Brown, who was the territorial media consultant at the time.
yeah, it was.
It was probably awful.
I don't know. You had 3 subscribers. So that
Can
was
I
good.
tell you, I'm going to give a shout out to Bernie Dake. Bernie Dake was one of our very first subscribers, and it was my first introduction to
Your
Bernie
first
Dake.
and only.
Yes, Bernie is my counterpart in the Southern Territory now, and we started this thing you could do early on where you could drop a pin in a map from where you were listening from. So we invited all of our listeners to go to our map and drop a pin in it from where you're listening from.
And his mom's like, I don't know how to do that.
I know, I didn't. Mom never figured it out, but Bernie figured it out, and he dropped his pin in, and I'm like, "Who is this dude?" Our one listener who put a pin in our map, and it was Bernie Dake, the great encourager, and he
is
and
the
I have
great
been
encourager.
friends ever since. Yes, he is. That's his.
Well,
spiritual gift.
Finkhauser was a big follower too.
Yeah. Early on. Yep. We had a few.
You had your.
We had a small but fiercely loyal audience.
It was good. I think it might have been a little bit before its time.
Maybe so.
Because it was kind of the entrepreneurial podcasting.
It was
Time period.
ridiculously
Yeah.
complex to figure out how to do it too. It involved like Blogger and generating fire feeds off of it, and
That's right. I
it was
remember fire feeds.
It was a multi-step process.
I was listening to Bill Burr because he was an early adopter to the podcast stuff,
Yeah.
and how he would do it, and he would get on a phone and leave a recording on his
On his voicemail?
Yes, and was like transferring them that way, and yeah, it was.
You know what? You figure it out. You make it work. This is what we've learned in media, church media over the years. You just find a way. You take what you have and you figure out how to make it work.
It was cool. I liked it. It was cool. I didn't listen to all of them,
I'm
but
sure
I listened to
not.
some of
Please,
them.
I hope not.
I was on to one. I was on one episode.
Did we have you on as a guest?
Yeah, it was.
Oh my gosh.
It was a significant time in my life.
I'm going to go find that, if for no other reason, so that Jordan can hear.
Yeah, I need to hear that.
I think I have
No,
an archive somewhere.
I don't want you to because I'm probably saying the exact same thing that I am now.
you just didn't evolve.
learned nothing in 17
No,
years.
I don't want to know that. I
That's
don't want to
probably
know.
fair.
I want to just be okay with who I am.
I need that in the Christmas album.
Oh, well, that exists too.
We don't. I don't. It doesn't exist with me.
I only have 3 songs from it, so I need
Oh,
the
really?
full thing. Yeah, he sent them to me last year, just
Yeah.
like out of the blue. Didn't say anything about it. And I just got an email.
No,
that
no.
was
We were talking
No
about it in the
explanation.
department. And
Jim's just like,
I was
feel
giving
like-
you
have you heard
context.
my album?
I,
Why
no,
don't
I
you
feel
just-
like we talked
just
about it
listen to
after
these?
you sent it. I feel like
No. I wouldn't have done it because I don't like
That's
it.
true.
I
No,
don't.
he doesn't share it with
I don't
anybody.
share it with anyone.
I
so-
have 2 full albums of tracks.
Do you sing too?
George.
I do. I sing what Jason Layton termed foreground vocals
Oh,
on a couple of songs where I was maybe a little over enthusiastic.
He was pretty enthusiastic.
I play the bongos on it. It's
Yeah.
good times.
got a lot of different skills.
You have no idea.
It was.
You have no idea.
And Jordan's mind is blown because he's like, "Wait, there's 2 albums? I only thought there was one."
Yeah, I need the other
We
one.
did a follow-up album.
It's the kind of album that might make you laugh a little bit. If you're a musician, you're probably not thrilled with it,
Right.
And
It may make you hate Christmas.
if your
Yeah.
mom is like, "Oh," it's like one of those types.
We should
of
make a
things.
music video to it.
We did
Did
that
it?
too.
No,
Oh,
there
you
is one.
did?
We
Yes,
did that.
there
We
is.
made a in studio like recording BTS video.
Yeah.
For the second album. His public his public demanded it.
Yeah.
I'm discovering some of the old stuff that we've done and some old files. Yeah, why do we archive this stuff?
I know.
Because
It serves only to embarrass us.
It really is.
That's true.
And we do it only does embarrass. There's no like wealth to it.
No.
But I just came across the video of me going down the hill on the tricycle
Oh yeah,
at Redwood Glen.
that was good too.
Where I have fake tattoos of blood and fire on my knuckles.
I forgot we did that.
I know.
Oh my gosh. No one wants to hear any of this. All of which to say, we've been doing stuff for a while.
Yeah,
you and I in particular.
It's good. So you went to film school.
I did.
Jordan went to film school.
I did.
Now, to be fair, it was not my major. I was a communications major. Yeah. I took a minor in cinema television at USC.
Oh, okay.
So my degree is actually in communications, but
Right.
I did attend USC film school, but it was only in the minor program.
Okay.
So this question is for both of you. What drives, like, what was driving that to make films? What drives you for that? Why? Why do you want to make films?
You answer first.
I mean, for me, I kind of fell into it in middle school. I think I was about 12, and my brother he left to go to Mexico to get cancer treatments with my mom, and he like 3 days before Christmas, and he left me a movie as like a present, and I was like
To watch?
Yeah. It was just like my Christmas present, and he always wanted to make movies. So he left, and then
What was the movie?
I'm getting
Oh,
there,
sorry.
So I remember opening the movie, and it was like a movie that I had no interest in seeing. I was like 11. And
I'm gonna try and guess what it is.
6 months later, I remember like after he had passed away, and I remember opening the movie about a month later, and or like looking at the movie, and I was like, oh, I should watch this. So I put it in. It was The Dark Knight.
You had never watched it?
I hadn't seen it. It had just come out. Like
He left you the
year before.
movie,
Yeah.
but you didn't watch it for 6 months.
Yeah.
And
I never watched it.
And then you finally did.
Yeah, I finally did, and then I was like in awe, and I was like, "What is this? I need it." And then I don't know, it just like clicked suddenly. So it's kind of cool. He kind of like passed that on to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
But yeah, I've just kind of been into it ever since, and always had plans, kind of from that moment on,
That's
to go to film
interesting.
school.
For me, it was similar. I was probably about the same age, and I was sick and stayed home from school. And on TV was Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I had seen before when I was younger, because it came out when I was a kid, and I had seen it, and I thought it was cool. But when I watched it as a teenager, it was like I understood the story of it beyond just like special effects and the big boulder and airplanes and all that kind of stuff. Was the story that was behind it, that it was like, this is an object that is desired by the evil Nazis so that they can win the war. And I understood it in its larger context. And suddenly the story then made all of the other bits that I already liked about it so much better.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a lesson in the importance of story and how having a story, a properly told story, can have a profound impact on people. And so that was, for whatever reason, that was like a realization for me, and what sort of really sparked my interest in pursuing film. I saw a bunch of movies in high school because I was in a tiny town that shut down, rolled up the sidewalks at 6 o'clock. And the only thing to do was to drive to the next town, the big city of Sacramento, and go to movies. And so I spent a lot of time doing that in high school too. And so that kind of got me more and more interested. But it was really, at its heart, it was the desire to be a storyteller in some capacity.
That's cool. And so now, Josh, your team, Share Change, you guys have done incredible work over the years. And what type of stories do you guys look for?
Yeah, I think that really holds true for us still, is that's what we're after, is a story that is that can have an impact on someone. We want that's where someone can see themselves in that story and be inspired to change. So what I always say is the kind of story we're after is one of a person who has had a transformative encounter with Jesus as experienced through the extended hand of the Salvation Army.
Nice.
And those are the ones that we really try and focus on the most. We do other ones too, and sometimes we talk about programs, unique programs in the Army or that kind of thing. But really, an individual whose life has been transformed because of their encounter with Jesus is one that we feel will resonate with others. And we try and use these pieces as evangelistic tools online to try and attract people to the work and the mission of the Salvation Army. And so those are really the ones that sort of we seek out the most.
Wow. And so is there a story that you guys have worked on that got bigger than you thought it would? Like it just kind of it escalated and became more than what you maybe originally anticipated?
Bigger how? In terms of like scale or like impact or what?
Maybe the story seemed like, oh, that's a nice story. And then you got to know them and you realize like there's a way bigger part of the story that we just didn't know about. And, or you may have thought it was going in one direction and it got larger. I don't know.
I can't think of an example like that specifically. And some of that is due to the fact that we pretty carefully look into ahead of time the stories before we start to develop them.
Yeah.
There are some certainly that have had greater impact or greater reach than we would have expected online. And that's usually because it's got something that finds a niche online.
Okay.
We told a story of a guy in Idaho who volunteered at his local Salvation Army, and in addition to that, he was into custom bicycles, like lowrider bikes.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, which are kind of cool,
They're
right?
Really cool.
Well, it turns out there's a lot of people online that think they're really cool.
Yeah.
And they like to watch videos about these bikes. And so that video has been one of our top performers on YouTube for years, just because it found that audience who was like, we're into this. We're not, we may not be into Jesus, but we're into bikes. And that's what this guy does, is he uses those to build that kind of bridge. And it was kind of cool that our video kind of managed to do a little bit of that as well.
Oh, that's really cool. Has there been a story that, and maybe this is the story, but you've just gotten a lot of feedback on? Like that it just seemed to really resonate with people and maybe for a larger impact. Yeah.
I guess, I don't know if this is going to answer your question exactly, but the one that sort of was like that for us is a short film that we released a couple years ago. Jeff Prahl is one of our directors, producers, and he was given the opportunity to do a short film. And so he wrote one that was based on one of the parables of Jesus. That's the thing about story, right? Is that the reason it impacts us is because we're wired to learn from others' stories. And Jesus knew that. He used stories, right? Parables to teach us. When he really needed to tell us something, he used a story.
Yeah.
That was when he really needed to communicate most. That was what he would use. And so we use those as well, right? So Jeff has written a short film based on the parable of the ungrateful servant. He shot it on location in Mexico. It was done entirely in Spanish. And we decided to submit it to some film festivals just because we hadn't done that before. And we thought, well, it's not expensive and we might as well, and who knows what'll happen. And it ended up being accepted into the Miami International Film Festival, into their Spanish language category. And Jeff and I were scheduled to travel there to attend the festival. Jeff was on the way out the door with his suitcase in March 2020 when he got the call that they were shutting down the festival in the middle of the week. And that they weren't gonna, they were not gonna see the rest of it. He was literally on his way to the airport when he got that email. So it all got shut down. But what came out of that was, it turned out that HBO was the sponsor of the Spanish language section of that film festival, and they ended up optioning the film, the short film, and they put it on their platform. So it's on HBO now. No, that's not what it's called.
HBO Max.
HBO Max. It used to be HBO Now. Now it's HBO Max. So it's on that platform still. They optioned it for 2 years and exposing it to an audience that we never, ever would have, even contemplated before. But just because we thought we'll try it out and see what happens, we ended up having it released there. So that was kind of cool, reaching into unexpected places.
Sure.
And interestingly, out of that too is we thought submitting it, having it come from the Salvation Army was going to be a drawback, or that people would have some sort of preconceived notions or prejudices against it. But it turned out that it wasn't. It was the opposite. They were like, the Salvation Army, you guys make short films? Like, what is that about? Tell me more. So it was interesting that was the response that we got more when I think internally we tend to think, well, who are we? We're just the Salvation Army yahoos.
Right.
But that's not necessarily how the rest of the world sees us. And sometimes we do that. We sabotage ourselves, I think, because of that.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. All right, cool. A little bit about Share Change. We'll share the link to all the videos there, and
it's a great resource for
downloadable.
Anybody. Yeah, they're all downloadable, and you can play them in your meetings and services. You can edit them. You can do whatever you need to do. They're meant to be resources for programs.
Yep. I think Jordan watched just about all of them.
Yeah, I watched a good amount of it, not all of them
before he started.
But yeah, I remember Jim sent me Share Change, so I was checking them out. Yeah.
All right, Jordan, give us some youth culture.
All right. Well, this is very interesting to me because I think everybody sees Gen Z as the social media digital natives.
Yes, you've been raised on it.
Yeah, and I kind of talked about that the last episode, how we're all insecure without our phones in our pocket. But I came across an article that said Gen Z are using social media less and reshaping the internet. And it says Gen Z is the only generation that reported declining use of social media in recent years after constant pivots by apps. So they're actually on it less. And I mean, we all know like Gen Z doesn't really use Facebook anymore, but it actually says they're using Instagram a lot less as well.
Yeah, I just read that too a couple days ago that the Instagram has dropped dramatically.
Yeah. So now it says, according to Pew Research Center, between Gen Zers between 18 and 25 are the only age group to see a decrease in social media use since 2019, and they are using less of every social app except for TikTok now. And they think a lot of it is because of TikTok's like algorithm and how it always kind of gives you something new while keeping within what you like.
So is that, do you think that's TikTok absorbing all those users from the other platforms, or are they abandoning social media generally? Like, is something else taking its place for that generation? And is it just TikTok? Like, we don't need any of these other ones because TikTok does everything that we need it to do, and so we're spending all our time there.
I think it's, well, it says here, and I think this is.
Are you a member of Gen Z?
I am. Okay. Well, I'm like a millennial by a month. I'm
you're right on the edge.
So like, okay, I would rather be Gen Z though.
Oh, you identify? You identify as Gen Z?
I identify as Gen Z.
That's fair.
He gets the better clubs.
I'm like that too. I identify as Gen X, even though I'm sort of right on the edge. I'm at the very tail end of Gen X.
Okay.
But I certainly, that's my identity more than millennial.
I think, I mean, everybody's still on Instagram and Facebook. Like I have those, but I don't post anything on Instagram. I don't post anything on Facebook. I don't really use them anymore.
But you're not posting on TikTok.
Right. I'm not, I mean, I don't even have a TikTok, but that's because I downloaded it one day and then I spent like 4 hours on it and I was like, I can't do this. And I immediately deleted it.
That's funny.
And to answer your question, Josh, I'm not sure. I think it's that this world has always been fickle with young people, social media, and it's a tide that just kind of moves to different ones.
Right. That's what I just assumed they migrated to something else.
Yeah. And I kind of think that that's the case and they've kind of done that, but it's interesting, this research showing that they're just using it less.
Using it less.
Yeah. Yes. What I'd be curious is they use apps, communication apps like WhatsApp and
Discord,
Discord and all those. Are those being considered social media? Because sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But maybe traditional social media, have we hit that point where we could say traditional social media? Because they use Messenger, Facebook Messenger. Yeah, they will use that.
Yeah.
They're not using Facebook.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's a lot more of these
direct communication. Yeah, you're right. That's true. That's interesting. And I think the pandemic probably accelerated that also.
Yeah, probably.
Because that was how they all communicated. At least the teens in my household did.
Yep.
Yeah. And it also says, I thought it was interesting. I mean, they're changing the whole online landscape by challenging like Google, even like the search tools. And they're searching more things on TikTok and Instagram than using actual Google, like to find like places to eat or things like that around them, like using the maps.
Recommendations.
Yeah.
We just talked about in the last podcast about how they're getting all their food recommendations from social sites.
Yeah.
And and I had read a while back that this is one of the primary sources of news that they get is through TikTok. And it's one-stop shopping.
Yeah.
And it's happening very quickly. The videos are very quick.
Super digestible.
Yep. And I've noticed with TikTok too is there's less of the obvious comments and stuff like that. You could just flip through videos. You don't have to get lost in the comment world and maybe the bickering, the fighting, and all the stuff that happens there. You could just kind of get lost in the rhythm like you did when you opened up TikTok
for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. But it also says that a lot of like the bigger apps and bigger tech firms are now trying to distance themselves from being branded as like generic social media, because to Gen Z that seemed like a toxic thing. So like TikTok says it's an entertainment platform, Snapchat calls itself a camera company, Be Real says it's not another social network, and Meta says it's a metaverse company.
Right.
And yeah, I thought that was interesting. So it seems like all these companies now are trying to do exactly what TikTok's doing. Like even Instagram is saying they're not going to be photos anymore, they're going to be video.
Yeah.
I know. The other thing that's bothering me lately about Instagram's changes is how many because they're trying to do what TikTok does.
Yeah.
So I'm getting all these accounts on here that are suggested for me. I don't want any of those.
Right.
I don't.
They keep trying.
I don't want any of those, and I have to go through 5 or 6 to get to the ones that I have purposely chosen to follow.
Yeah.
In order to do that, and that's starting to annoy me.
Yeah.
And
TikTok is available to you, Jim.
It is available. I am on TikTok.
TikTok
Follow
calls.
me, Jim Sparks.
I know.
Good.
I just need to download it again, honestly.
Can I transfer all my old episodes of the Media Moment to TikTok?
Oh my gosh. I don't think you want that, but yes.
I think you should.
Oh my gosh.
I would.
Does it lend itself to a format that's 30 minutes of audio of 2 old white dudes talking
But why not?
17 years ago? Okay.
You weren't that even old then.
No, I am now though.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I just thought that was really interesting because I haven't seen anything that's ever said that they're using social media less.
Yeah.
But they're kind of channeling all of their time on their phone to like TikTok.
Does it say anything about older generations using it more?
Not really. It just says older generations are more consistent with just like Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
And it seems like all the companies are trying to chase Gen Z, and Gen Z is constantly deciding we don't like this anymore. We're going to do this. And
honestly, though, it's the same with the millennials. It's following the same pattern.
Yeah. Everybody wants those young
when
dollars.
Snapchat came around, everyone was like, "What the heck?" And so it's kind of that same cycle.
yeah,
for sure.
it also said they're losing. Companies are finding that they're losing Gen Z every time they like make an update that changes their social media. So like when they change like the layout of Facebook or Instagram, they're constantly losing people.
It was. I love those days, by the way, when they would change Facebook, because Facebook went through some radical changes early on, and it literally was a gift for me that they did that, because the amount of people that were complaining about this free thing that was available to them for free that was changing, and it was not their style.
Post hacks of how you could get the old look back and just go into these things and undo this.
It was classic.
It's good times.
Yeah.
All right, interesting. Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a youth program idea. Josh, every congregation has a need for media. True or false?
True, yes, and they're all doing it, whether they admit it or not.
Yep. And you have been doing media at our core for many, many years now. You have a team. Tell us about your team.
I do. My team changed quite a bit over the last couple of years. During the pandemic, the team was me.
It's not a very big team.
Nope, me and a video camera, but that's all that was needed. But as we came back, what happened in our core, and I attend Pasadena Tabernacle Core, was that the core officer very much wanted to continue to stream the services.
Yeah.
He liked the audience that we got on there. We were reaching people beyond our local community and people who aren't coming in person necessarily. And so they wanted to continue that. And so that's fine. I just need help. So of course, I first turned to my teenage son because he couldn't say no. Because he depends on me for food. And so that worked very well. He had some interest in it, obviously, and was willing to kind of help out. He'd done some tech stuff with shows at his school, musicals and theater and whatnot. And so that was good. That was helpful. We pretty quickly enlisted the assistance of your son, Ethan. And so
this wasn't a plug about our sons, but
No,
just
it
showing
didn't mean
you
to be,
their
but-
age. They're 16 and 15.
Yeah, that's right. And so they are the two that assist me running media at our core every week. I'll usually if they're both there and if all three of us are there, it frees me up to be able to just sort of pay attention to the soundboard, and they handle the stream almost entirely themselves. I kind of get it up and running and that sort of thing. But then Ethan's usually running cameras. My son Oliver is switching between those cameras, and he's also running Pro Presenter to send lyrics to the screen and stuff like that, and sermon notes. He's doing that too. Yeah. They're fully engaged and paying attention.
They got a lot of power back there.
They do. Yeah. I don't know if they realize it. We're trying to keep it from
Jordan wouldn't understand this, but it's like a version of Kids Incorporated.
It is a little bit. It's like they're back there on the controls and they love it. I enlisted the help of others too. My son and I both play in the band, also the brass band, and so when we have to run down there to play, for the congregational song, we need somebody else to hit space bar, which is usually another teenager. Wow. So at the moment, that's it. I think that the advantage of that is that they know it sort of inherently. They're not afraid of it.
I think that's the important thing.
Yeah,
they're not afraid of it.
Right.
They'll just go in and kind of figure it out.
Right. They're used to being around technology, and they're used to just messing with this thing until I get it to do what I know it can do.
My son is not a tech geek, and he was able to go in and figure it out.
With like 10 minutes of instruction.
Right.
I was like, this is this, and this does this, and I want this kind of stuff. And he's like, okay. And he just kind of does it.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. And, but the more rewarding part of it, I think, is that it means that they are 16 and 15-year-old boys who are engaged in the actual content of the meeting. You may not think so, and they may not think so, but they are having to follow the sermon and fire the slides at the right time, and they don't get a script from the sermon. They're having to pay attention and know that as he's ramping up to make his next point, they are ready then to fire the slide that is the next point, which they've already read. So they're being exposed to that. And Ethan, who's running cameras, is like following the pastor back and forth and watching him as he moves, and knows when he's going to make a point and move away from the podium or whatever. It's like they're both fully engaged in that meeting as well, and awesome. Not just on TikTok. Apparently, in the back row of the chapel. Yeah, exactly. Like you would be if you had it on your phone on a Sunday morning, which is another reason not to do it. So that's my team is kids that previously knew nothing about media until I kind of sat them down and was like, "Hey, are you willing to help with this?"
Yeah, and they are engaged, and there's these type of kids everywhere.
Yes,
and we need to, see which ones are interested to get them involved. Maybe a don't is get them involved and then walk away.
Right.
So what advice do you give for people that they probably have some tech kids and kids that are actually into technology?
Yep.
Like not like my kid that are like into it. They really know through and through, or they're really into the sound.
Yep.
What advice do you give to get young people involved on a media team?
A couple things, I think. First of all, you have to take it seriously so that they'll take it seriously. You've let them know that while what they're doing is a support for ministry, what they are doing is also a ministry in and of itself. In the same way as playing in a praise team, or leading a congregational song is a ministry, what they are doing back there every week is a ministry. And they're sacrificing of themselves and their time to participate in that ministry. And so you got to treat it that way and be like, this is for real, right? We're not here to mess around. And this is, you're doing this to honor God and to support those that are here to honor God as well. And so we're going to treat it that way. So that's number one. And then number two is you do want to provide them some level of teaching and training. The more you teach them, the more comfortable they are with the gear, and the better they're going to be, the better they'll be able to problem solve as well. And so what I can hear officers saying, though, is, well, I don't know how to do this stuff myself, so how am I supposed to do that? And that's where we come in as well. We didn't really talk about this before, but the other big part of our job and my department is to provide teaching and training and media support to exactly that, to those people who are running it at the core on a weekly basis. Everybody has this gear in their core. Not everybody, very few people have actually been trained on how to use it properly. And that's where we come in. That's where we can help. So my budget pays for me or someone from my team to travel to any core in the territory and provide teaching and training and reassembly of your sound system, since you've never put it back together since we got back from the pandemic. Now's the time. we will come out and help with all of that and do this kind of training. So just as example, next week I'm going to San Jose, to Santa Clara Core, and I'm going to do that for them. They have a sound system that they're like, it doesn't sound right, and blah blah blah. But we have people who are willing to run it and to be here and to show up and do it. I'm like, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Is if they're willing to show up and do it, they can be taught. It's not that hard. It just takes somebody sitting down with them for literally an hour and being like, here's what this is.
Yeah.
There you go. Now you feel confident enough to go and do it yourself.
Yeah, and with young people involved, there's an element of worth that they feel by doing it.
Yes.
It's like the maintenance guy at camp that paints the curb, and he's going to stand by that curb the whole time because he wants people to know that he painted that curb. Like he's got like some ownership. Like that's my curb.
It's an interesting analogy, but yes, but it sounds very specific. But yes, I could see it.
But these guys feel very much a part of every bit of that service, and I think that's really exciting.
They
for
have
them.
that fellowship with each other too. They get to talk about it with each other, and oh no, he's going to try and juke you today, and you're going to try and lose him off the camera, and blah blah blah.
Right.
They have a fellowship and a camaraderie there as a result of that,
and they get to have fun. They zoom in on people sleeping in the meetings as well, and they don't make it on the regular feed. They get it on the side feed.
Hopefully, yes,
but
usually
it is fun. There's the changes in being able to use cameras. Let's talk about cameras just for a little bit.
Sure.
Has changed dramatically.
Yes.
And young people, digital natives,
yes,
have access to do things that your mind would have been blown. They could edit videos in slow motion on their phones right now. And so we did an event a long time ago called Amazing Race, and we talked about it actually in one of the podcasts, and Josh had set up a team. I think there was like 5 or 6 teams, maybe.
I was going to say 4.
Okay, there could have been. And
4 or 5.
We had a video crew chasing them the entire time.
Yes, we had a camera op with each team that was also sort of the chaperone. To follow them around, because the whole point was that we wanted to make a fun video that was like an episode of The Amazing Race. At the end of once we'd run it, and with music and all this and quick editing and all that kind of stuff. And so we sent someone with a camera to each one, but the camera that they had was not just their phone in their pocket. It's this giant like handy cam that they were like running around shooting with.
Mini DV.
It was mini DV, as a matter of fact. Most of it, and then I had to take it back and capture it off of these tapes and ingest it into my machine and edit it together. And now that's something that the kids themselves would do with the cameras in their pocket and put all that together. It was a really fun and successful event.
What year was this?
Probably at least 10 years ago.
Yes. It was probably 10 years ago. It might not have been too much more than that. I'll bet it was about 10 years ago.
Wow.
But we did a follow-up too, another one as well. But you're right. They just know how to use it. And beyond that too, I would say that, you and I went to film school to learn how to frame up a shot and, how to, what a medium and a wide and a close-up is and all that kind of stuff. And that's valuable. But because kids have spent so much time looking at recorded video these days, a lot of that comes naturally.
It's just like an instinct.
Yeah, and I found that with Ethan too. And maybe some of that is because I know he's done some photography and stuff before too. But instinctually, they frame it up way better than I ever would have at that age. And I think it's just because they've seen it done so much. It's second nature. It just looks right to them.
Yeah.
So they automatically kind of frame that up the way they should. And I'll adjust it a little bit here and there. But like they get 90% of the way almost just naturally.
Yeah. Well, we did a programming thing at YI this year, where we had people shoot their own videos. And it wasn't too long ago where we would assign somebody.
Yeah, I was going to say, we never really tried that before.
And we haven't tried it before. And it was successful. Yep. We got people and they edited, some of them needed some help editing, but they shot and edited themselves.
Yeah. Some of them were pretty tricky, right? Like some of them, you had stuff going backwards and you had slow motion.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. Like, it's not
they
just
jumped into
straightforward.
the deep water for it. And it was successful.
They did it without fear.
I think this is kind of a fun, like, new era for youth group stuff where kids could get involved using their videos and their capabilities on their phone and shooting and having fun of giving that feedback. Because the other thing that's incredible to me is they could shoot it, edit it, and send it to you right there.
Yeah, right.
Like, how long did it take
wirelessly
you to edit the Amazing Race?
We did a premiere party for the video like 2 months later.
That's right.
Yeah, because it took that long to cut it together, right? Like it was like almost a full episode, almost a full hour. But yeah, they did it super fast. They shared it wirelessly. And what's another advantage of that, I think, is that they can they make very shareable stuff on their own
Absolutely.
social stuff, and that is an attractor for other kids.
Yes.
Look at what we did. We did this funny video at my youth group, and they're like, well, what is this? Or what were you doing? Or, you know, it's an invitation to get more information because it's tailor-made for the platforms that they're already using, maybe less than they used to share that kind of stuff already. It's awesome.
All right, get the videos in, get the media team, and utilize that resource that Josh was talking about.
And let me know if you need me to come to your core.
Yeah.
We're available.
Josh has seen more core than just about anyone in our territory.
That might be true.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Wow.
That could be. I don't know.
I mean, wherever Paul Swain is, and
he's a fan.
He is a fan.
And a friend.
Oh, he's such a good guy. All right, let's go to the wheels. The wheels, spinning the wheels. We got Josh, and Josh, you get to spin the wheel for the first time.
Oh, good.
Well, technically, you don't spin it. I'm spinning it.
I'm less excited now.
So
I thought it was like a giant wheel, like on Price is Right.
No, good try though. All right, here we go. We're gonna spin. It's going. It's probably gonna land on the van again. And nope. Youth group idea.
Oh.
Youth group idea.
Youth group idea. What was how big was your youth group growing up?
I jumped around to a couple different youth groups.
Yeah.
Well, I jumped to one other one when I started dating someone who was in that one.
Always a problem. Or an opportunity.
I mean, they were all pretty small. I grew up in a small town in Northern California. There was no more than 10 in any of my youth groups. But the first thing that came to mind when that hit was something that happened at a camp, actually. Our camp that we used to go to in summer was Hume Lake, which was an awesome summer camp up in the middle of California. They just did the
men's officers.
They did.
Yeah,
they did. And I hadn't heard the name Hume Lake in a long
California
time.
men's
retreat. Yes, California men's retreat.
Go ahead.
We played there one year. The theme for the whole week was Raiders of the Lost Ark. So already I was in.
Yeah,
clearly.
You were hooked.
Clearly.
You showed up to camp.
This is much more true.
You're like, where do I find Jesus? Like, I could do that already?
Yeah,
like
what? Yeah.
You've already talked
Indiana
about it
Jones
like
wants
3
me to
times.
find Jesus. I know. I will. Clearly it was a formational period in my life. But we played Capture the Flag, which I'd played many times before. But they did it at night. They did it across the whole camp. In fact, they said the line of demarcation between the two teams, they said, extended around the globe. So you could go as far to one side or the other as you wanted. There was no out of bounds, which I thought was awesome. And then what you had to do was your team had a stamp on their hand that identified their team, and they would sneak across and try and steal puzzle pieces, this big giant wooden puzzle, big like 8 by 10 foot puzzle that you come back and have to build the ark out of these spray painted golden puzzle pieces.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
you do them like one at a time, right? So it added another element. It's not just like, we got the flag, the game's over.
Yeah.
It was like you went and tried and stole these
keep
pieces
going
back and forth.
much harder to put a puzzle piece in your pants than the flag.
Exactly. Big giant wooden puzzle piece. And there was jail too, so people get caught and you could break them out just like before. So I'd played Capture the Flag a lot before, but this was really fun, especially when people started getting creative with it, where like some of them would like, you had a friend on the other team, or you made a friend on the other team, and so you would go steal a piece of your own puzzle and go and trade it for one of theirs. We did that a couple times.
Yeah.
Or people realized they could lick their stamp and put it on somebody else, on the other team's hand, so they started developing double agents. So depending on which side of the thing you were on, you would show them one or the other. It was super. It was a neat twist on something that was super familiar.
Yeah,
that's the thing that I think is the coolest. It's like, we've all played Capture the Flag before, but that was like a new experience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought playing Capture the Flag in a core,
yes,
where like the same concept where there's no line,
yes,
in the core and everything is available in the core.
Yes,
I think that's would be
when it gets fun,
super rad, and it's not just finding the flag. I love the idea of puzzle pieces.
Right.
I think that's really cool.
Because then you got to come back and assemble it too, and you're looking to see how much you have left,
and that could be hidden all around the core.
Right,
and doing that.
Right,
it's really cool. All right, that's a cool idea.
I like that one.
I want to do that idea. All right, Jordan, you ready to spin?
Yes.
All right, here we go. What is it going to land on? It is landing on an embarrassing teenage story.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
This one time in Senegal.
Actually, no. This is pre-Senegal.
Hey.
This was my first day of high school, actually.
Gosh.
Wait, this might
as a freshman?
Yeah.
This might be the reason why he went to Senegal. Go on.
Yeah, partially. I got to get out of here.
Yeah, right. Never show his face again.
Yeah, my first day of high school, I remember it was a new high school. My parents decided to put me in a private school private Christian school. I'd gone to public school my whole life. So I only knew one person at the school going in. And I remember it was just a weird day. But anyway, I walk into the front doors. The first thing that happened to me was this girl came running up to me and said, "Are you Asian?" And that was the first thing anyone said to me in high school. And I was like, well, no. Thanks for asking.
Did she look super disappointed and never talk to you again?
No, actually, she became my girlfriend later on.
Whoa.
But that's a whole other story.
Did this just turn into like dating advice? Is that a good, that's a good opener?
I would never have guessed that to be a good opener.
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, who am I?
Apparently it worked.
But anyway, so I remember we started school on like a Thursday or Friday, I think, like our first official day. It was like to break us in slow or whatever. So I remember it was like a normal day. And then I was at lunch and I remember this girl looked at me and like yelled at her friend and was like, "I call dibs." Which I think I've told you this story because you were like making a lot of jokes about this. But I
called dibs.
I don't know what was so appealing about me because I had like a giant,
I know what. Do you want me to tell you?
Well, I was like super skinny, had a giant hoodie, and I was like,
You were new.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
you
I
were
was
fresh
new.
meat.
Gosh,
Jim, can you imagine being as good looking as Jordan? That would be so hard.
It's very difficult, the life that he's had to live.
Gosh, it's a real burden. It's a real burden you've had to bear, man.
So I just remember, and then my friend, who was the only person I knew, he looked at me and he was like, "Oh, that girl's like crazy. Don't talk to her."
Because he needed someone to tell you that.
Right, you weren't sure.
So this girl
calls dibs.
So that, and I guess that year it was the Sadie Hawkins like dance.
Yeah.
So the girls asked the guys, and so it's like the end of the day. I'm at my locker, and she walked up to me like in front of everybody and was like, "Will you go to the Sadie's dance with me?" And I was like, "Oh no, like I think I'm busy that night or something." And she immediately just like broke down crying.
Oh,
and it was like the most awkward, like everybody was just staring at us. It was like my first day, and I was like patting her on the shoulder, like it's okay. Yeah, it was embarrassing, but
that is going to be written into an episode for somebody.
Yeah. Oh, it keeps going, but I can't show those other parts on my podcast.
That's probably fine.
Jeez. All right, let's
it's a nightmare.
Take that.
That's why I went to Africa.
That was it. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm too attractive for this school. Clearly, nobody can take it.
I gotta get
out of this country.
Oh, that is crazy. That's funny. All right, thank you, Jordan, for a little bit of insight into your crazy world.
Yeah,
of freshman
it's a roller coaster. Let me tell you.
Just a little plug we want to give is the Armory. The first series is already out. It's well been out at this point, and you could download it, watch it on YouTube. And it's a series of teachings. They're like 1 hour long, and we get kind of experts in their area to teach anything from innovation to behavior management. And so we are working on the new series. We have the new series going right now. That's going to be going out. And then we're working on another series. So there'll be 3 total in this.
Gosh, you guys are just building your broadcasting empire.
We really are. And
the website. There's a whole website.
There's a whole website for it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I'm proud of that.
It's really cool. It's easy to listen, easy to follow. We try to make it sample-licious. It's not
I'm sorry?
crazy. Sample-licious. I learned that word when I just made it up.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so check out the Armory. Some really good information in there. Some good little nuggets that you could add to your arsenal in being youth leaders. So check out the Armory at sayconnect.com and look for the Armory link in there, and you will be able to see all the videos. Very cool. Josh, thank you again for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Anything that we've talked about in this episode is linked in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Saynetwork podcast to Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. I'm sure there's going to be some other places that we post it.
If you didn't like it, my name is Bernie Dake, and I work for the Southern
That's
Territory.
right. You can find the Media Moment on myspace.com. And thank you for listening. And we'll be back next week with our final episode.
Yeah.
Breakdown 2022.
You didn't save me for the finale?
Do you want to be on this one?
Yeah. Careful what you ask for. Careful what you ask for. All right. Thank you guys. See ya.
See ya.